Hello, hello, and welcome back. This is Wednesday Woo with Mel. That's me. Today and all of this month, we're going to be talking about the elements, but today specifically, we're going to start with water. So come on in, let me know you're here. Pop in the chat, say hello, give a wave. If you've got any questions, feel free to pop them in as we go along. If we haven't met before, hello, I'm Mel. Thanks for checking me out. So if you were on the mailing list and you get my emails, you know that October is going to be a bit of a doozy for all of us. So I am not an astrologer. I don't I follow a couple astrologers and I keep up because, I talk a lot about all the cycles and definitely what happens in astrology is not coincidental. It's not, it's connected just as the elements are connected to the earth revolving and, all of those things are connected. And so I make a point of checking in so that I don't have to get a whole nother degree in astrology. So what I've heard from all of the astrologers, and sorry, I'm just checking down here, making sure everything's good. What I've seen from the astrologers is that October is going to be kind of a shit show. Okay, so I said it, it's out there. We're getting ready to go Mercury in retrograde in another week. On the 14th, I believe. And so be ready for that. Mercury in retrograde is a time when communications are affected, the way that people, hola sunshine, the way that people, not just the way that you communicate, but the way in which people perceive or receive your information. Sorry, I already feel super distracted today. We're in the shadow right now of Mercury in retrograde. I am greatly affected by this. I am a water sign. We're going to be talking about water today, and water's all about communication. And so communication in general, whether it is your electronics, the way that you're communicating via email, text messages, just recognize that it's already begun. It's going to continue. Mercury ends retrograde early November. I want to say like the 3rd, I think, the 4th maybe, but there's still another couple of weeks afterwards of what's called shadow. And so I just want to prepare everyone as we're talking about these cycles, as we're talking especially this week about water, to really be aware that the ways in which you are communicating with other people may greatly be affected, be different, be thrown off a bit in the next several weeks, in the next month and change, right? So, hey, CD. Yeah, so CD is someone who has studied astrology for a very long time, and I'm sure would be willing at some point to pop in a message with any helpful hints I would appreciate on preparing ourselves for this Mercury retrograde. But I just wanted to kind of give you a heads up about that. I also will say that the 16th, sorry, thought I had this written down. I don't know where my sheet is. The 16th, I believe, is the new moon. So when that, next week we'll talk a little bit more about that particular new moon and what to look out for. And then we have another full moon coming up on October 31st on Samhain. If you celebrate Samhain, Halloween, we have our second moon of the month, which is known as a blue moon. So lots and lots and lots of stuff happening in October. I just wanted to mention before we get started, if you are watching this and you are not in my WTF group, you should totally head over there. I'm going to be making some additional videos and content's going to be going in there. We're going to be starting something called Friend Fridays, which I'll put some information out about later today. And so definitely check out the group if you're not already over there. Thank you so much, me, aka Janelle, for posting that into our group. Head on over there. The information's in the chat. So let's talk about water and connecting. So if you've watched other videos that I've talked about the elements, there are cycles, there are components, there's always cycles to things. As we move, as we grow, everything is cyclical, right? The seasons, what happens? We've just moved into the fall season. Into autumn, this is a time of reflection, of winding down, bringing in the harvest. Thank you, CD Mercury's retrograde. Yep, the 14th to the 3rd. So that's correct. So keep in mind, election day is, I believe, the 3rd this year. Make sure you vote, make sure you vote, make sure you vote. My shirt, you can't read it. It says, let's be free. So important to vote. Back. Sorry, I think I lost you there for a minute. We're rounding up all of our energies and bringing back in and quieting down, starting to prepare for the cold season, if you will. And so this is really a time of water, specifically water energy is felt most this time of year in the fall. When we talk about the 5 elements of manifesting that I work with, we start with spirit, we start with general kind of figuring out how we want to move, but the first component of that is water, working with water. So what does that mean? So working with water's energy is really trying to embody and think about and put yourself in a space where you can feel the energy, the fluidity, the cleansing abilities of water. So if you take a moment and you close your eyes, you just sit quietly for a moment and just imagine water. You're going to imagine, you should feel, not just calm, but, imagine like a brook of water just flowing, a river, a stream. There's a very peaceful component to water. It's cool, it's fluid. If you put it into a glass, it takes the form of whatever you put it into. It's cleansing, right? If you take a shower, you can feel the water's energy as it kind of flows over you and it's cleansing. There are lots of ways to work with water. We'll try to bring more of that energy into your life, and we'll talk about that a little bit. But I want you to start with thinking about whatever it is in your life that you're looking to change, looking to adjust, looking to start, is once you sit down and figure out, this is the thing, right? Maybe there's a big picture. I'm kind of a big picture thinker. Maybe there's a big picture that you can see yourself moving towards. Take one piece of that action, right? Don't set yourself up and say, oh, I'm going to change everything. I'm going to lose 100 pounds in this next month, right? Take one tiny action that you can begin with that's going to get you moving, get that ball rolling, right? And start with the energy of water. So I'd love if you're here to pop in, one thing that you could start working on now, one thing that's been on your mind that you've been thinking about changing or starting. And just pop it in the chat. I'd love, if you feel comfortable to, and sit down with that, write down what it is, be as clear as you can about it, write down what this change is. Sorry, I keep getting the countdown timer, so I feel like I keep cutting off. Write down, what it is that you want to change, and sit and close your eyes. And again, imagine all the things that are in your way of making this change, right? We're always making changes because we know that there's something more. We hope that there's something better. And so think about what you're changing from, what you need to let go of, what you need to cleanse away, what needs to be released in order for you to start making this small change. And once you really have that clear picture in your mind of what this thing is that you're letting go of, it could be anything. Maybe you want to stop smoking. Maybe you want to start working out. Maybe you want to, I don't know why I always focus on losing weight. I just feel like I hear about that a lot. Maybe it's starting a business. Maybe it's starting a new project in your business or where you work. And if it's something, I know for me, there are a million things that I want to do. Part of the challenge for me is that I have to let go of all the ideas, all of the things that pop into my head. I have to intentionally sit down with those things and say, no, I don't need you now. You're not helping me now. I don't need to do these things that are distracting me. And before I can start planning ahead, I have to step back and say, okay, what am I releasing? What can we cleanse today? And I like to create anchors or things to remind you of whatever it is you've chosen to cleanse, right? To remind you to cleanse throughout the day, right? Every time you, let's say I brought a couple of pieces in here. Actually, my necklace was one example. So though I wear this particular stone necklace, definitely helps with my communications. Helps with communications. It helps me it helps me to focus and allow my words to come through. It's connected to my throat chakra as blue, but it also is about water, right? So let's say all this week, I'm really going to focus on what can I cleanse from my life? What can I start to release? And how can I be really intentional about identifying things in my life that are no longer serving me and releasing them? So you can do it every day. You could wait and make a whole list and have one big kind of ceremony to release things, whatever it is. Be really intentional. Find something. So every day this week, if I wear this necklace, let's say every day for a week, every time I catch an image of this necklace in the mirror, I will remember, oh, let me think about another thing that I want to cleanse, right? Let me not forget. This is the cup that I have that I keep on my altar for ceremony. So cups, if we're talking about tarot, the suit of cups is around emotions and water. And so, looking at if you have an altar set up at home and you have a cup there, right? Maybe that's the thing this week we want to focus on. Every time I see this cup, I'm going to remember, oh yes, let me continue to think about something else that I need to be releasing. Either doing it now, writing it down, so that we have this process, right? I also have a lot of these lovely figurines, little goddess figurines. And this one in particular, right? So again, we've got color symbolizing. You can have material, stones. There's, whatever for you is going to be significant and something that you see as a continuous reminder. You want to create an anchor for yourself. Sorry, my little welcome is in here. And you want to create an anchor for yourself, and you want to make sure that every time you notice this item, you touch this item, you see this item in the mirror, it's a reminder for you, oh, let me take 60 seconds out of my day and write down something else that feels like it needs to move, it needs to cleanse. And again, whether you do it daily or at the end of the week, create a little ceremonial space for yourself where, again, you can sit, you can reflect on all these things that you're going to release. You can quietly say thank you, right? All the things that we have that, maybe we're looking to release. I see you over there posting some things, Celia. I'm going to check in with you in just a sec. I want you to make a space for yourself and really sit and reflect. All these things that you want to let go of, they were there originally for a reason. whether it's to something that you created, that your mind created to help you deal with something, to keep you safe from something, all the things that we might now see as things we no longer need. At some point, we did need them. That's why they're a part of our life. So don't try to just rip off the Band-Aid, right? Acknowledge those things. Acknowledge the ideas, some of these ideas I've had for a while that, they don't really fit into what I'm doing in my business anymore, but they were quote unquote important to me at some point. It's okay that I'm moving on from them. It's okay that I'm letting them go, but I need to acknowledge them. I need to say, thank you. I'm so grateful that you were part of this cycle of my thinking to get me to where I am right now. Though it's time now to release you back to the universe, right? So that energy can go somewhere else to help someone else, right? And so creating a little ceremony where you let those things go. If there's I have a Pinterest page, pin, I guess, that I put up earlier this week that mentions like 5 tips, 5 things that you can do to really harness that energy of water. Again, I mentioned taking a shower, and really, again, feeling that water cleansing away the things that you want to release. Something as simple as washing your hands, anything that has to do with you really feeling that water energy and feeling what it can do is going to be really important. So let me see over here, CD. Yeah, so CD says, mentions posting affirmations around the house. That's awesome, especially, this week if we're focusing on just releasing. And again, I really encourage you to not try to go through the entire cycle all at once, right? Yes, you can sit down and you can think about, okay, I'm planning for the future. Okay, I'm going to release things. I'm going to ground myself. I'm going to come up with ideas and dream. And then I'm going to take action. You can do all those things at one time, but especially if it's something that you really want to change and it's part of a cycle, a system of you moving through. I personally will say, take a couple days, take a week, take longer, and make sure that you've cleaned out all the BS that you need to, right? So that when you move to the next phase, which we'll talk about next week, and that's going to be really grounding and centering yourself and being connected to you, connected to who you really are moving into. It's really important to get as much of the stuff out of the way as you can, okay? So I also see over here having a prayer nook and a meditation hour. Yep, that's awesome. And I try to have a morning routine, and several women that I know talk about this. I posted today a quote from Jessica Putz, someone who is awesome. She's a coach of mine right now, and she talks about the importance of a morning routine, especially for intuitive types. Really having that time to quiet yourself and sit and contemplate and focus on you. If you can do that first thing in the morning is wonderful. And yes, that's a great time for you to, this week again, sit, focus on that water energy, right? Again, if you've got any questions, go ahead and pop them in. I'm happy to answer them. So what else? I also wanted to mention, partially going back to the what the moon is doing, what Mercury is doing, Mercury in retrograde. When we think about water, and as we think about Mercury, and especially if you are someone who is a water sign or is, really sensitive to other people's feelings and emotions, water is the sign of emotions, the sign of feelings. Right? If we, if you're having a tarot session done and you have a lot of cups that are coming up around, questions for what's happening in your life and maybe where some blockages are, oftentimes if you have a lot of cups that are coming up, it's related to feelings, to emotions. While I'm saying this, I'm going to just grab my tarot deck since it's sitting here for y'all. I always have it here. I don't always remember to pull it out and look and pull for you guys. Um, so think about the emotions this week. Think about all the things that you're releasing and how you feel about letting them go, right? Because you can logically think about, yes, okay, I know I need to not do X, Y, and Z. I know I need to not eat dessert every night that's full of fat and sugar if I'm trying to lose weight. But if you sit down and think about, okay, I need to eliminate having these sugary snacks before I go to bed every night, you're going to need to stop and think about what's the emotional attachment that you have to that, right? What feeling are you getting from having those desserts, right? And you need to really process that before you can fully release it. Otherwise, it's just going to come back. You're going to be like, oh, I don't care, a month from now. Yeah, I know I probably shouldn't eat this, but whatever, it makes me feel good. Right. You didn't process the feeling and release that feeling and create something else that makes you feel good in its place, right? So I just pulled the King of Cups. No coincidence there. That's what tarot is all about, right? So the King of Cups, I hope you guys can see it. I know it's super bright where the light is right there. And then I've got that little welcome kind of being annoying. There we go. So yeah, the King of Cups, right? The ultimate in water, the ultimate in emotion, right? So if this were the Queen of Cups, I would say that, as a message to relate to, and I promise you, I don't know if you could see me shuffling, but I really did just pull this. Some people are like, did you already pull that out? No, I would never do that. If this were the Queen of Cups, I would say that, this week, the messaging around this idea of water would be more about I'm going to say maternal side, the fluid feminine side of water. But I'm glad that the King of Cups came up because I did primarily focus on the fluid cleansing side of water. The King of Cups is reminding me to tell you, hey, Carrie, I'm glad you got the chance to pop in. The King of Cups is reminding me to talk to you about the other side of water, right? Yes, feelings, emotions, cleansing. But think about a waterfall. Think about Niagara Falls. I'm from upstate New York, so just, less than an hour from Niagara Falls. And if you've ever seen a waterfall up close, even on television, there's an incredible force that water in motion can create, right? I mean, if you think about anywhere on this planet, I mean, the planet is, 60%, 70%, I wrote it earlier this week, is water. Our bodies are 65 to 75% or 65 to 70% water, right? So water not only is soft and cleansing and fluid, it's also powerful when it's moving, when it's in motion, when it's making things happen. And the King of Cups is telling us to remember that it's not just about, the fluffy side of moving through your emotions. It's also getting control of your emotions, right? It's having them, but not, sorry, I'm trying to get the light for you. It's having the emotion, but being in control of it, right? Getting to a point, maybe, some of you are, have felt overly emotional about things. And I tell you now, if you're already there, be very mindful and careful with yourself the next month and a half with Mercury going into retrograde, because it's going to get worse. You can help yourself. You can spend time. You can do all these things we talked about here today and more to connect with water so that you are getting in control of your emotions. But that's what the King of Cups is telling us. Like, it's time to really focus on, get control of, harness our emotions to where we want to go. So I see a question here. So CD says, wait, I think I can move this over here. Oh, look at this. I can move it over here. Does the King of Cups symbolize the divine masculine quality? So again, yes. I mean, yes and no, right? So everyone has male, female energy, right? Um, the idea, especially within tarot or within any other kind of elemental systems, there is a receptive energy, which is more of the feminine energy, and then there's the projective energy, right, which is more of the masculine. So kings, any of the kings are, kings and queens are both, leaders. They just lead in very different ways. Queens are leaders that are more communicative. They're more creating community and leading via community. Kings and the energy of any of the kings in the tarot deck, or the masculine energy, is more about the thoughts and the rules and creating the structure and leading from that perspective, right? So neither is better than the other. It's just different. And we each have those qualities and abilities within ourselves. So yes, the King of Cups does symbolize the quote unquote masculine energy. And I would say the projective energy of the emotions, the cups. So great. That's a great question. Yeah. So yes, feminine energy is much more about nurturing, and the masculine energy is much more about creating structure. And there's another word I'm looking for, but hello, Mercury retrograde already. So anyways, so yeah. So if you've got any more questions, go ahead and pop them in there. Leave them in the chat. I will definitely come back in and answer any questions. But again, I want you to really focus on starting this process of figuring out, thinking about, making time for yourself to sit down and make a list. Put sticky notes. I always have sticky notes all over the place. Create a space for yourself where you are thinking about changes you want to make, taking little baby steps. Where can I, narrow this down a little bit? And whether it's daily, whether it's one big thing at the end, create some kind of, daily reminder, find an anchor, create an anchor, and make sure that you are cleansing, thinking, showing gratitude for, and releasing all these pieces that you come up with this week, right? Again, next week, we're going to move into the, kind of phase 2, if you will, that is working with earth energy. And, but we want to make sure that we're already in a good space. We've released everything this week. Okay. So I'm going to leave it there. Again, if you're not in the group, you can come back and check the messages, join me over in the WTF group, and we'll have some more conversations over there. And I just thank you so much for spending time with me every Wednesday. I really appreciate it. Tell your friends, tell your family, join me next time. And I hope everybody has a spectacular rest of the week, and I'll talk to you soon.